Hey guys, everything's going good today. Yeah, I came across this video of this debate between Billy Carson and Wesley Huff. Uh, and I'm familiar with Billy. I heard him talk about planetary stuff and different things. And Wesley, I'm not really familiar with him, but this was such a good debate of you know of him explaining a lot of things biblically, and another thing of people not understanding biblically. Because even though like people have an understanding because they read text, there's something else that goes beyond this, and it's a divine wisdom that God gives people to understand things, you know, of the Bible and Scripture and the things that are said of it. And there's some people that actually teach that stuff, so you learn, that way as well, because that's what God sends those people for. Now, these guys go back and forth. They're talking about the texts and the history and the theology of everything, but there's also things that are missed because sometimes there's no divine knowledge involved. Like, when people say, well, if you're God, why does he kill all these people? Because our God is a just God. So it's in the Old Testament, there was judgment for things, but it's not like he killed all these people. He would send prophets or messengers to these people to tell them to turn from their ways, and they wouldn't. So he's gave, so the penalty of that was wrath, So I don't get it why people always say that. So the only reason now that we get away and man gets away with a lot of stuff that we get away with is because, God came back as Jesus and died for us on that cross. So that's the only reason why we get away with a lot of stuff that we're getting away with, you know. But in the end of it, we're still going to be judged when he comes back. And, people like, I think I heard Billy's reference in this video, and I'll link the whole video down at the bottom because this is kind of long. So it's really interesting. But mentioned in one point that he said that, he doesn't think somebody comes back from the sky is going to save us and this and that. No, Jesus already saved you. He gave you salvation. Like the coming back, he's coming back to judge us. He's coming back to judge people. So, the day of, people will be left here. Those are people that's going to be judged. All the rest of us won't be here for that. So sometimes that's just a lack of understanding. People's like, oh, it's fairy tales. No, it's not fairy tales. The Bible is a manual. It's a manual of life. So everything is in there. You can even science when you listen to debaters, and you listen. One of the big one was Ken Ham and Bill Nye. I watched that debate. It was a great debate. Ken Ham proved everything that's in the Bible can be related to science. It proves science, and science proves the Bible. So it's crazy. Anyway, enough of me talking. Let you guys get in a little bit of this. And some of the first mistakes that he made is just like spreading misinformation. It's just you have to learn. It's all about learning.
Linguist, biblical scholar, PhD, and athlete wannabe. I like how you threw that in the bio right there. And Wesley, my man, I think it would be great to. I know you guys were both recently in Egypt. There's tons that I'm interested in. That how all these things show up in Egypt is baffling to me. But just going right to it, I had here. Billy, you talk about how Jesus was never crucified, which is interesting because my wife, who's a Muslim, they believe that as well. Mm-hmm. Their beliefs, from what I understand from her, are they don't think that Jesus, as they believe is a prophet, God would have him killed. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they have any historical evidence, as far as I know, as to what or how or why
they don't believe that they wouldn't have him killed and not crucified. If your history tells you that there was crucifixion, first of all, and if this guy was a tyrant Jesus was a tyrant that they made him out to be, why would they not crucify him as one of those punishable methods? Because we know that those were the methods. Crucifixion, there was when the horrid one where they drowned and put a dog and an ape in the bag, and then there was. So why would this be a question of that? I don't know.
They believe that. I'm curious for you guys both, and if you want to, I guess, go first, Billy, as to how you came about, like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not
Sure.
crucified, or that's not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible. Okay. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. And that Bible predates the King James version of the Bible. And the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary, which, according to some scholars, that's a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which
Who
then,
claimed it was an accurate
adds
record?
more, if that's true, it adds more to the hypothesis that maybe he wasn't crucified. I just personally believe that Jesus was an amazing human being. I don't think that he was the Son of God in the sense that he's God, but that we're all gods. As he said, ye are gods, and that we're to do greater things in him. And I just personally believe that the return of the Christ is the return of the Christ consciousness. When we can all achieve a certain level of knowledge, wisdom, passion, understanding, empathy, love that he came to this planet with, and we get that in our mind and our conscience, and we can act on those incredible emotions and that understanding, that the whole world is going to transform instantaneously. And I think at the second coming is the coming of the Christ consciousness to the planet, not a human being flying back to Earth to save people. That's just my personal understanding of how I've perceived it over many, many years of going through this information and going through all this text.
And Wes, I'm gonna let you respond to that. And again, I mean, this is everyone listening to the show. I'm always like, challenge everything. Learn to critically think and continue to come to your conclusions. Even with Jesus, I'm not personally even waiting on that he has to come back to say, I already know I'm, like I said, that strength of God and consciousness is already, I can tap into that right now. So you don't have to wait for him to come back. For those that believe he does, to actually have that like next level of what that's supposed to mean. But Wes, go ahead on for what Billy was talking about, I think with a book in the Harvard Museum, and I heard something about Jesus's wife, which that's, yeah.
Yeah, well, first let me say, I think it's really cool to not just be in the room proverbially with you, Billy, but be able to interact with you. Because I wish I could be there in person. Unfortunately, Toronto, Canada is a long way away from Florida. It's a little bit of a jaunt. But I really appreciate the fact that you seem to have investigated to a certain degree some of these facts. Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written that made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible called, I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible, right, from Mount Sinai. I'm assuming that's the mountain that they're referencing there. But they put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James version being put out.
Sure. So when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus, like the codex that comes? Okay. That's why I was trying to get some clarification, because so you can actually go and see Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library. So you can go and see it. It's on display. And the British Library has actually digitized the entire manuscript. So I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal.
Just now, you guys can go out and read that and check it out. Codex Sinaiticus
culture, and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean,
Gotcha.
and not addressing something else. Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek, it's a 4th century Greek manuscript.
Mhm.
It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there. I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of,
.com.
you know, say Matthew 27,
Mhm.
where it has Jesus being crucified. And that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or, you know, the John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the like
Yeah,
viewers or listeners or whatever be able to see
it
that?
right now to make sure I have the version that I'm looking at.
I think it
While
says
he's
now
pulling that up too,
Book of Barnabas or something.
like I keep saying to all the people that aren't scientists traveling the world and linguists, I don't even know how to pronounce it the right way, like me.
Linguists?
What
Yeah.
cyanide? I keep thinking of cyanide, like the cyanide Bible. So is
Right.
that like a version? So from my own knowledge that I know, when I really studied all this, what I thought was interesting about the Bible was how many like different eyewitness. I studied C.S. Lewis back in the day, how many different eyewitnesses and stuff there were. And they went on purpose to mention so many other names that they were able to like cross-reference throughout history and throughout those times, from my understanding. And those were different things that I always thought were kind of interesting, that I felt was a good concept of proof. And then I want Billy to answer, and also I'm just curious, like the Sinai Bible, where was that
I
piece
found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
Okay, yeah. Well, so that's good. So let's deal with that too, because I've actually worked with. There are 2 manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document because it is a known forgery, and so that's why I think it's important to get to these sources. So, at the very start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have 2 copies of, one is in Italian and one is in Spanish. We see right off the bat that the Gospel of Barnabas, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are 2 apocryphal documents from the 2nd century, but the Gospel of Barnabas in particular.
So guys, I'm going to stop that right there because this gets really, the debate gets really, really, really good. And I think Wes brings up some great points because he is a scholar on that and a theologist. So he studies those for a living, as you know, those manuscripts. But I think it's really good. There's some controversy around this whole video, I guess. But you guys definitely check this out and leave some comments and tell me what you think about it. All right, guys. Bye.